Hey guys, welcome back to the Python PlayBook series. So in this series, we'll be looking at different Python exercises and going over them step by step, whilst also teaching you the basics of Python. So in the last video, I went over a very basic exercise, but what I decided to do in this video is go over the introduction to Python. So how do I install Python and how do I get it up and running on my laptop or PC or whatever you want to use, and also take a look at what I use or what platform I use to do my Python coding and why I use that. Okay, let's get started. So in order to download Python, all we need to do is go and search in Python on Google, and we will find the first link where it says welcome to python.org. We click on that and that should take us to the Python homepage. And now of course we want to download Python, so we go into the download section and we download the latest version, and as of the time of this video the latest version is 3.11.4. so this is the one we want to download, so we click on that. And of course, depending on whether you're using Windows or using a Mac, you'll have to change the version you want to download. So for example, in my case, I'm downloading for Mac OS, but if you want to download for Windows or Linux or whatever operating system you have, then you have to change it accordingly. Here we go and download it now, and it should be in my downloads folder and it should be done very soon. Okay, so ignoring the atrocious desktop I have at the moment, I still need to organize that. We now have the Python installer, which is opened up here. So what we need to do is click continue, and I mean, this isn't really important to read. You can read it if you want to, but it's not too important. So yeah, just quickly scroll through that. Continue, and now we agree to this. So now it tells you how much space Python will take up in your computer, and 167 megabytes isn't too bad, so we can go ahead and install that. All right, so now it's installing Python. So if we just give it a minute, it should be done. All right, here we go. So now we've installed Python correctly. It says congratulations, Python 3.11.4 for Mac OS 10.9 or later was successfully installed. So now we have that. We can go and click close on this, and we don't need the installer anymore. We've already got Python. There's no need to reinstall it or anything. So we go and click move to bin. And now what should have opened up for you is a folder or file where you have a list of different things that come along with the Python installer. So as you can see here, we've got IDLE, install certificates, license, Python documentation, Python launcher, README, and update shell profile. Alright, so let's go and open up where you'll be doing your coding, which is the IDLE. So let's go and open that up. When you open IDLE up, you may get a message that says, would you like to open this file up? Because it was downloaded from the internet and it doesn't know whether it can trust it, but you just click yes because you know it's safe. And there we go. So this is the IDLE shell. Apologies if you can hear any background noise. There's work going on outside my house at the moment, but ignoring that, we'll carry on. So as you can see here, what I've opened up is the IDLE shell. So here we can do any sort of coding. We can just type in any sort of calculation. So for example, let's do 1 + 1. There we go. 2, as easy as it is. So any sort of operations we can complete on this shell. Another thing we can do is, say we wanted to save a number to a variable, then what we can do is put number equals, let's just put 34. There we go. So that saved it now. So if you type in number again and click enter, we should have 34 pop up. So this is all well and good when you're doing very simple problems or simple calculations, but when we go into more complicated ones where you take more time, want to go back and revisit it, we'd want something that we can save. Because on this IDLE shell, we can't actually save anything. If we close this now, we've lost it. There's no saving. But if you want something that we can save and revisit whenever we want to, then what we need to do is open up a new file. So you go and click go to file and then click new file, and that has opened up an untitled file where we could do all our coding, and once we finish we can save it and then reopen it again whenever we want to. Okay, so let's take a look at a very simple bit of code, and we'll save that and I'll show you how to reopen it in just a second. So if you guys remember, in the last video we mentioned how to display things in Python with the print command. So if you go ahead and do print, let's do hello world. This is a very kind of generic simple one. Hello world. There we go. So now if we go and click enter, that doesn't display what we want. That is because this is not the shell. This is a brand new file where if we have to go manually run it in order for that to be printed on the shell. So I'll quickly show you how that works. So we go here to the top where you go run and click run module. There we go. So it says the source must be saved because we have to save before we run anything. Just go and click OK, and then you can save it wherever you want. I save it on my documents folder. So let me just go to hello world. Just name it whatever you want as well. Hello world. Click save. There we go. And it's printed hello world on the IDLE shell, not on this file that we've opened here. So for those of you who are using Windows or Linux, this process of opening a file, running it, saving it will be very similar. The only differences would be where the buttons are to run and where they are to save. So those are the only slight differences, but everything else is the procedure is exactly the same. So you don't have to worry in that regard. If you guys would like, I can do a separate video showing you how to save on Windows. And sadly, I can't do Linux purely because I don't actually have a Linux operating system. But for the majority of this series, we'll be doing different exercises and running different bits of of code, we will not need to worry about which operating system we use. Any operating system is fine, so there's no need to worry about that. So now let's say we're done with our work and we want to revisit it another time, another day. So what we can do for that is actually go into this folder and reopen ideally. But if you can't find the location of this folder, what you can always do is go into applications and it should be right there. Ideally. There we go. So we open it once more, and as you can see, the code that we originally written with the addition and multiplication has now disappeared because it wasn't saved. But if you want to go back to our hello world code, what we can do is go into file, click open, and that should come up with a folder here, and there we go. We've got the file exactly where we left it. So go and open that up. There we go. That's our code exactly as it was, and now we can get back to coding. That is the Python IDLE, which I highly recommend for beginners because it's very versatile and very user friendly. For those of you wondering what I was previously using in the Python PlayBook series, Jupyter is an open source software where I can go and very similarly code as I have done in IDLE, but the difference is the code is structured in cells and I can organize my work in such a way that I can have headings and outlines and make comments, which I guess we can make here as well, but they're a bit more refined on Jupyter as you have different cells, as I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so this is the code from last episode, and as you can see, we have our comments, as we previously mentioned, outlined individually on each cell. And you guys might have noticed in the last video that we had this kind of bold outline text here, which kind of gave us an introduction to what that video was, and this is called a heading. So we can do headings on here, which will allow us to organize our work and provide you details on what each section is before you progress. So I just prefer to use Jupyter because it's a lot more easier to structure my work, and also it is a lot more clear and visible to the user as to what's going on. But then again, IDLE is not bad. IDLE is in fact ideal for beginners, so I would highly recommend using that. Okay, so I think that's all I've got to say for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was informative, and Python is now downloaded and running very smoothly. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have any issues, and I'll be happy to address them and do my best to fix the issue for you. Don't worry guys, going on from this, we'll be covering more exercises which will be progressively getting harder. So I guess I'll see you in the next one.